Good morning, friends, and welcome to today's Cichlids and Coffee. And I hope wherever you are, you're doing well and having a delicious cup of whatever your favorite beverage is. Oh, yeah. Today's mug, courtesy of Jerry Martin. Jerry Martin, one of the moderators of the channel, who has Jerry's Fish Room. Be sure to check him out. And let's see who's on so far. I saw some great names a second ago. Hey Ray, Ray's here, and Joe Provenzano, and Ray Barksdale. Hey Fishman Marcus, how are you? And let's see, Daniel Lopez is here, and Cat Sailor. Fish Ranch. Hey Fish Ranch, I used your quote, I believe. Did I use your quote? I believe in the last video. Hey John, good to see you, buddy. In the Jeans is here, and let's see, Bob H. And let's see, Cat Sailor. I do have an update for you, Bob. I'll give you an update on that 300-gallon. It's slow but steady. Chris G is here, and Brian Hahn. If I miss you, I'm sorry, folks. I'm scanning through this very quickly. William Gonzalez. Hello, Homestead, Florida. I've been there. I think I had some great Cuban food and some cappuccino down there. David Sanger is here. Hi, David. Daniel Lopez came in with a pre-start super chat. Awesome when that happens. Peas and Haps can't stay long. We're going to miss you, buddy. Thank you for all that, all the love, Vibes Aquatics. I appreciate it. And we've got about 26 folks on and more coming. Linda Woodworth is here, still learning. Always learning, Linda. Always learning. And I'll be commenting on that. You know, Fish Ranch, I don't know. I guess every fish keeper has gotten the floor wet at some point. But we have perhaps a bigger opportunity to do so when we use sumps. And especially like you mentioned, you know, when you're filling up your tank, the sump will very quietly, start to fill and then overflow. And then when you go and take a peek, it's that horror show. I think in your case, what was it? You felt the water on your feet when you're working at your desk. That's it's like a nightmare, one of those nightmares. Hey, greetings from Belgium, from Erna. Hello, Erna. And that Cichlid Chick. Good morning, Cichlid Chick. And let's see, Paul Newman is here. Hey, Paul. Good to see you, buddy. And more people are jumping on. Let's give them a chance to get on here. And it's a very warm Saturday here in Nashville, Tennessee. And maybe it's a little warm where you are. It's hot. It gets hot and muggy, almost up around the 90s. And when you add in the humidity factor, it gets pretty rough. Fishaholic from Olympia, Washington. Hey, and David Martin. Good morning to you as well. What word? I'll be buying my 270 from Glass Cages. All right. Tell them that drop my name. Maybe it'll give me some cred with Glass Cages. Be sure to drop my name. I don't get any kind of compensation from Glass Cages. We do have a very good arrangement, and I do get some good prices, but there's no, it's not like an affiliate or sponsorship, not like the relationship I have with, I would say, the Cichlid Shack. Cichlid Shack, for example, gives me fish, and that has a certain value to it, right? And they just give them to me. I pay for the shipping, of course, but so it's, I don't have that kind of arrangement, but it is a very great arrangement. Thank you, John, for the AV feedback. I appreciate that. 64 degrees in Cincinnati. That's good. That's a good temp. That's a good temp. In the mornings and the evenings here, it gets into the 70s. That's very nice. That's very, very nice. I love the 70s. And but up in the 80s and 90s with a high humidity is very, very difficult. Beautiful in Michigan, sunny and 68. That is perfect. Perfect. I know Michigan does get some humidity. So let's go ahead and let's do the official start. What do you say? Let's go ahead and hit it. If you're new to the channel, be sure to hit that subscribe button and the bell and the thumbs up. Let YouTube know that something good is going on. And some quick shout outs to my wonderful moderators and best moderators on YouTube, and also to my channel sponsor, the Cichlid Shack. Once you go Shack, you don't go back. It's on their old, I'm using their old school logo. And I will be there on the 4th, Saturday the 4th. I will be doing the live stream from the Shack. And then at 12 o'clock Pacific time, I will be available to meet with you folks. So it's going to be a little bit of a different time because I'm going to be starting at 11 Pacific. So that's 1 o'clock Central. So it's going to be a couple hours later than usual. And I'm pretty sure that's how we're going to do it. But at any rate, I will be there in the afternoon. If you're in Tempe, Arizona, come by. I'd love to meet you. And don't forget, use Shack Attack 10 for anything you buy from the Shack for 10% off, and Shack Attack 15 for 15 off on all your fish orders over $100, not counting shipping. He does not make money on shipping. He simply passes what the cost is to you. And because he wants to get you those fish fast, he does use the best shipping available. So usually overnight, when he sends me fish, I pick them up at Nashville International Airport, and works out really well. So let's see what else. Very quick shot of John. Hey, John. John got his black coffee mug with this on it. So there it is. One of my handsome moderators showing off a cup in front of his nice big tank. And thank you for that photo, John. Very appreciated. And for those of you who'd like to grab a cup, be sure to visit Teespring, where you can get cups and T-shirts and tank tops and all kinds of good stuff. Also visit Amazon using the Amazon link. Anything you buy at Amazon, either from my store or anywhere on Amazon, will give a credit to the channel. Also, a big shout out to my Patreons. Patreons are folks who commit to a monthly amount as low as $3 on up. And it really, really helps. And this is a list of the Patreon members. And they are very, very appreciated. Thank you so much, folks. And that pays the bills. No more commercials. Let's go ahead and close all that. There we go. All right. So I have a few things to talk about today, and including an update on the 300-gallon, and also some tips that I came up with. And you know, hey GP, good to see you here, buddy. You know, I get emails, I get PM'd, I get a lot of requests for information. I try and respond to as much as I can, but I can't get to all of it, but I do try. And one thing that I noticed that seems to be a very common thread with a lot of these emails is that there's a lot of I don't know how to describe it. Maybe, like, I guess you'd call it fish keeping anxiety. You know, like people, like some folks, I can tell that for some folks, it's hard for them to just sit in front of their tank and just breathe, you know, just enjoy the tank and love the tank. And it's hard for them to do that. And it's like they're always looking for what might be wrong, what's going on, what's that spot on that fish, why is that fish swimming more slowly than usual? Is that fish eating or not? Or, I mean, there's always something, and what this can do is, I think is it really takes a lot of the fun out of fish keeping, and it can make it anxiety producing, which in my mind, fish keeping should be something that is very therapeutic, and in fact, anxiety reducing. You know, it should be something that calms people down, that gives them a lot of relief. And 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 I know when you're brand new, and especially if you belong to a lot of groups where a lot of folks are sharing that week's disaster, it can feel a little scary sometimes, and so I get it. I also know that that companies that sell products, fish keeping products, very often will put out messages that can make you a little bit worried about, is my tank going to have enough beneficial bacteria? Is my tank going to have an ammonia spike that's going to kill off all my fish? Am I going to lose all my, is my heater going to explode and electrocute me and the fish and cook my fish? And there's always something. And in all of it, there has to be a balance. There has to be a balance. On the one hand, you want to be sharp. You want to be on top and do the best for your fish. On the other hand, you have to, at some point, just not even think about equipment, water movement, nothing. Just sit in front of the fish and really just be there and just enjoy the fish. And I think that for some people that's kind of hard. It's kind of hard. There's always something that could be wrong, and maybe they operate that way in life in general. Looking for what's wrong, as opposed to what's right. I remember when my kids are really small, I'd come home from work, I'd be really tired, and I'd start to dwell on how there was a mess, or the bed, their bedroom was a mess or something. And my wife was very good at saying, hey, calm down. There's, for each thing that you've just pointed out, there's probably 1,000 right things and good things that they did today. So let's just shift the attention over to the positive, the right things. And I would just take a breath and go, yeah, you're right. I'm tired. I'm hungry. Let me get a bite to eat before I say anything else, right? So that's my first point. My first tip for you, and for anyone that is on here, is look for what's right, and dwell on what's right in your aquarium. Really look for what's right, and as opposed to what is potentially wrong or bad, or looking at your tank and saying, oh, I wish I had this decor instead, or I wish I had that kind of substrate, or I wish I had always something. There's always something, as opposed to just be there, enjoy it, and whatever it is, whether you have a SpongeBob SquarePants pineapple in your aquarium, and or whether you have beautiful rockscape and crushed coral and a holy rock or whatever. You just enjoy the heck out of it, and really dwell on the fact that you're keeping these beautiful little creatures alive in this water box, which is so different from the world that they're normally in. It's actually amazing when you think about it. So number one, dwell on what's right. Dwell on the things that are right and positive, and don't drive yourself insane looking for what's wrong or should be different. The other thing is, don't chase trends. You see trends come through the hobby, and I've probably been responsible for promoting certain trends and certainly following certain trends. And sometimes someone comes up with a very bright idea, and it's worth trying, but it's very easy to kind of jump onto the latest and greatest media, the greatest and latest filtration gimmick. Like I'm going to put a moving bed internal filter, or I'm going to put a this or that, and then 6 months, a year later, nobody has them, and a lot of money was spent on them. And I'm not ragging that particular. I'm just using that as an example, but there are these trends that come sweeping through. Somebody had a bright idea, and if you want to, it's your call. Your call if you want to pursue a trend or try something new in your tank. But if the tank is healthy, the fish are eating, they're colored, they look good, you know, might not be necessary to follow a trend. And the other thing, the next one, number 3 on the list of 5. I think I promised you 5 in the thumbnail. Number 3 is don't panic. I mean, don't panic at every opportunity. I have a Coengi, beautiful Coengi in the 210, and he didn't eat for a day and a half, maybe 2 days. Didn't eat. Wasn't interested in food. Took a breath. I said, okay. Maybe he's got something going on. I mean, do fish get upset stomachs like people do? I don't know. Does he get indigestion? I don't know. I don't know what's going on. But I just kind of took a breath. I didn't pull him out immediately and put him into the hospital tank and hit him with API General Cure and a bunch of other stuff. I didn't do that. I just kept an eye on him, and in about 2 days, he started eating like a pig again. So obviously he was a little bit out of sorts, but I think about 18 months, maybe 2 years ago, I would have panicked. I would have pulled him out. I would have put him in a tank. I would have hit him with meds, and I would have, and all those things are traumatic. All those things are, catching him in the net, moving him. He was obviously already under some kind of stress. Maybe he'd been bullied, or maybe he had indigestion or a little bit of a something in his intestinal tract. I don't know what it was, but it would have been very easy for me to go crazy and worry, just worry, because he's a beautiful fish. I don't want to lose a fish like that, And at the same time, you've got to be smart. I mean, if he had gone on for maybe 3 or 4 days, I mean, cichlids can go, what a female? Females hold for what, over 20 days? So for 20 days, a female African cichlid will be holding and not eating. So they can go a long time. They build up fat reserves, and they can go for a long time without eating. So let's say maybe 4 days into it or so, and I notice that he's still avoiding food. Yeah, that might be a time to okay, maybe I need to pull him out, maybe do a paracleanse, maybe do a little bit of check him for parasites, maybe hit him with some general cure and see what's going on, and also observe the tank a lot. And just see, is somebody harassing him? Is he being chased a lot? Is he being hit by other fish? And because that could be contributing to it. Designosaur 53, greetings from Glendale, California. I lived in Glendale for about 30 years. Yeah. Watched it change from a little sleepy town into a very busy town. So, yeah, definitely don't panic. And the next one is be equipped. Be equipped. And what do I mean by that? Be equipped. I mean, have meds. Have meds on hand. Have backup filtration. Ideally, a backup filter. Battery powered, aerators. Battery powered pumps. Be prepared. Don't worry. It's like medical and life insurance. You auto insurance. You buy these things. You buy these things and you hope you never have to use them. But at the same time, you want to have them. So be equipped. I'd say have some API General Cure. Have some Fritz Paracleanse. Maybe some Maricin, maybe some Metroplex, maybe some Ick Attack, right? Some Ick medication, and definitely some salt, right? Not trace minerals, not Malawi lake salt from Seacam, but some actual salt, like Fritz Plus, some real salt. And like Jerry just pointed out, be sure to be aware of expiration dates and throw them out if you don't use them if they're expired. But be equipped. So don't panic, but at the same time, be ready. Be ready for what could happen, and that way you're not caught with your pants down or running out and trying to make it to Petco before they close so you get a hold of some API General Cure. The next point, I guess this is point number 5, and maybe I'll have a couple bonuses for you, but But number five is realize that it's a normal cycle. We talk about cycling tanks. I'm gonna tell you how you cycle the cycle of a fish keeper, right? The nitrogen cycle of a fish keeper. You go from worry and anxiety. Am I doing it right? Right? You go from worry and anxiety, and am I doing it right? And then you go into this sort of confident competence where you're calm in your approach. You feel like you've got it, like you've got it nailed down. And then usually some disaster happens during that time period. And you realize that maybe you didn't have it entirely down. So there's sort of what I call the full circle or the full cycle, where you become calm and competent and professional, but at the same time you realize that there's a lot that you don't know. You go from kind of like knowing you don't know and kind of stumbling around to sort of a false confidence that you kind of got it all nailed down. And then you get to a point where, I've got to always be alert. I've got to always be learning. And I feel confident, but there's a lot of good ideas out there. And I have to keep listening. And I always want to be listening. I always want to be gathering new data and understanding what's going on. I'll give you an example. You know that I'm a deep substrate guy. I like the undisturbed deep substrate to work as the primary home for beneficial bacteria, because it's an area of the tank that you can leave relatively undisturbed, and so you don't mess with it, right? And unlike the sponges in your filter or things like that are, even decor, they're going to get messed with. They're going to get, wrung out and rinsed, and there's going to be messing with it. Whereas the substrate it can be left pretty much alone for the most part. Maybe some very light occasional vacuuming. I know on my 210, I'll lift up the rocks a couple times a year and get in there and vacuum and clean up the corners and pockets, anywhere where the wave maker might not be creating enough flow to suspend the detritus and get it over to the intakes of the filters. So on the one hand, I like a deep substrate. On the other hand, with the sump that I'm going to be using on the 300 gallon, I'm going to be using 3 4-inch wide matten sponges from Swiss Tropicals. These sponges are like this wide, right? And they're going to be about 14 inches tall, 17 and a half inches wide, custom cut. And because they're wide and tall, they're going to stand all by themselves. So they're going to be like a baffle inside the aquarium. So the water is going to be dumping into the aquarium and then traveling through 3 4-inch wide matten, or you call porrid sponges from Swiss Tropicals. And then after that, they're going to, the water is going to, after it's gone through the sponges and been sort of like ultra cleaned and free of particulates, then it's going to be going over a mountain. And I mean a mountain. I've got a big box of it. I mean, a big box of this Cichlids from Sarah. And this is really good stuff. And Sarah is helping out with the 300 gallon, the whole project, by providing the Cichlids. And I'll show you the box. I mean, it's like a crate. I've got a crate of Cichlids. So the water is going to be, now I'm not even sure if I'm going to use socks, the filter socks. And I'll show you, some of you that are not familiar with this process, and let me show you something. This is a filter sock. There's probably no better pre-filter. I mean, the pre-filters that you put on the intake of your canister filters, even your hang-on backs, those are good. Those are good. But I tell you, when the water comes down from your aquarium and hits one of these socks catch everything, everything. But I was talking with I think it's Steven over at Swiss Tropicals, and very knowledgeable individual. I think he's a doctor of some kind. And he was telling me that when you use those large matten sponges like that, you really don't even need the socks. You can just run the pipes down into the water so they're quiet, and just let it flow through the sponges and let it provide nutrients to the bacteria living in the sponges. He said if you want to, you can put a little floss in the very front end of it that you can swap out every now and then. But he said you don't have to bother with socks. So I'm not really sure if I'm going to be using socks yet. And if I do use a sock, it'll probably be, I found this one sock that's 7 inches wide, and about maybe 10 inches deep. And I could have both pipes going into that one giant sock. And that way I only have to swap out one sock for the primary and secondary overflow pipes. And so I might go that way. And this would seem a little bit different than what you would think. You go, wait a minute, Ben, you've got these giant sponges, which are going to be a home to a tremendous amount of beneficial bacteria. You're going to have the Ciporex, which is incredibly, supposedly rated incredibly high for beneficial bacteria, and you're going to have a deep substrate. So it's going to be like the beneficial bacteria Ritz-Carlton. I'm going to be covering every possible angle for beneficial bacteria. So over the course of probably 4 to 6 months, that aquarium, as it becomes more and more seasoned, is going to be very, very stable. It's going to be very difficult to throw that tank off. And that's usually the case for bigger systems anyway. Your bigger tanks are usually far more stable because it's just very hard to throw off the parameters of 300 gallons plus a 40-gallon breeder sump. It's real hard to throw those parameters off. It's just like I've said before, I have much respect for people who can keep nano tanks running and successful, because a nano tank, one little hiccup and you've got a bad situation, right? You have a very bad situation. I really respect folks that can keep these little tanks going. So that's so. Be flexible. Realize that you're going to go full circle. You're going to go from stumbling around to feeling a sense of confidence that probably is more than you should be feeling, and then you'll probably arrive at a point where, to me, it's like a point of wisdom where you realize you don't know. You don't really have it all nailed down, and so you stay alert, you stay calm, but you stay alert, and you're willing to change. You're always willing to be a little flexible in your thinking, and don't get into arguments. I mean, I hear people. There was somebody recently at the Facebook page that posted a picture of all the BioHome Ultimate that they had purchased for their sump, and it was all washed and ready to go. And I personally, I had good experience with BioHome Ultimate. I like it. And the theory is that the water, as it flows over it, there is an area in the middle of it that is not necessarily subject to the very fast water movement, where it's very calm, and so that if you get enough of it, you can get a full cycle. and end up with a tank with almost no nitrates. Now, granted, you need a lot of it. You need many, many pounds of it for a well-stocked African cichlid tank. I mean, a tremendous amount. And but this poor fellow who dared to post that he was using Biohome Ultimate, I mean, people started to pile on. That's a bunch of hype, a waste of money, blah blah blah. Like, hey, everybody, take a breath. Everybody, just take a breath. First of all, it's his money to spend. Second, unless you've done an actual experiment, a test, a true scientific test, you really don't know. And third, I mean, from my personal experience, and so much stuff in fish keeping is anecdotal, right? It's just what people report. Here's what happened with me. That's about the level of science that we have right now in fish keeping, to some degree. I mean, there are groups like Sarah that have, marine biologists and, staff, doctors on staff that are doing research and stuff. But for the most part, a lot of it is anecdotal. So, but my anecdotal report was that the most stable aquarium I ever had, which is now in the hands of Kevin Green in California, was my 60-gallon, and it had Biohome Ultimate and 2 Sun 302 canisters. And there was some marine pure in there. There were some sponges. I mean, that tank was rock solid. Never hiccuped. Even when I had Colomaris in 2 tanks with cross-contamination, the 60-gallon never had a hiccup. Not one speck of the disease appeared in that tank, which I thought to this day I really can't even figure out. So anyway, people can't take the way they do things too seriously. They've just got to realize that that's just how they want to do it and how they're comfortable with it, and not bother getting into an argument with somebody who wants to do it differently. You want to put scrubbies in your sump? I don't care. You want to break up lava rock and put it into your canister? I don't care. I mean, if it works for you and it gives you a sense of confidence that you're doing the right thing, hey, man, more power to you. Go for it. Do it. Let me know how it goes. That's my attitude. And I'm not going to jump on you and, oh, well, that doesn't work and blah, blah. Man, this is not politics and religion. This is fish keeping. So it's like, hey, man, let's just take a breath and enjoy it. And, this poor guy is probably second guessing whether he wants to post anything else in the group. And I had to step in and just say, hey, come on, guys, calm down. And everybody just does it the way they do it, and just let them do it. And again, I don't care if you have a SpongeBob SquarePants pineapple in your aquarium. I really don't. Now, talk about chasing trends. Tomorrow, I'm going to release a video. Maybe that's not the best segue for this. But tomorrow, I'm going to release a video about this little, as Jay Wilson calls it, this little bad boy. This is the new Issei Shark Pro, which used to be a sort of a rounded sort of product. This is the 500. It's the small unit. And it is just really, really cool as far as internal filters go. And what they did is they took the kind of things I don't like about the ones I'm using now. Currently, I'm using, and they've done a great job. They've done a really good job. These Expertmatic. These Expertmatic filters have done a great job for me. I've only had one of them fail, actually. But I've had about 5 or 6 running forever. But what Issei did is they have an adjustable flow. You can control the flow. They have a hard, very hard directional control, which is really cool. And it stays in place, unlike the one on the Expertmatic that flaps around. And eventually I just took them off because they were kind of worthless. It has an adjustable venturi to adjust how much air you want coming in. And this is really heavy duty. The one on the Expertmatic is a little bit cheap. And everything that's attached to this is done with magnets. Everything is magnets. Easy access to the impeller. And check this out. See that? You know what that is? That gives you a stream of water that comes out the top. So you have a spray bar that's built into it. So you want the spray bar, you just lift this up and you've got a spray bar. And anyway, it goes on and on. The bottom compartment is attached again with magnets, and you attach it to the side of your tank with a magnet. And that eliminates the sagging, the tilting over that occurs with the Expert-Matics because the suction cups don't really hold. So this is a hot little product, and reminds me of the Borg, for those of you who are Star Trek fans. Distance is futile. So anyway, there's a lot more features. I'll talk about it in tomorrow's video. A lot of folks are putting out, I guess Jay sent a bunch of them out to a lot of YouTubers. So there's a lot of reviews out there. You can watch mine if you like. What makes my review a little bit different is that I do a side-by-side comparison with the Expert-Matic on price, on gallons per hour, on features. And so you get a point of comparison, comparing it to another internal filter. I think internal filters are great. They give you a power head function. They give you aeration, right? But they are a bit of an eyesore. I mean, they tend to hang there, and as you can see in the tank behind me, I've got two of them in this tank behind me here. And anyway, but they can be a little bit of an eyesore, and sometimes they can be a little bit too strong. So you got to be able to adjust those bubbles. I know my little dwarf rainbows behind me probably don't appreciate getting into the bubbles. So watch for that tomorrow, and a quick update on the 300 gallon. I finally was able to sort out this puzzle on the return, and the return is going to be like hard plumbing. This is what goes, here's the back of the tank. The back of the tank is right here. And now you have this lock line that I can move anywhere I want. Lock line. And it attaches to this bulkhead. And then I have a threaded bulkhead. Those of you know I was looking for a threaded bulkhead that I could then remove this piece and not have to cut the plumbing to remove the bulkhead if I ever want to remove the bulkhead from the aquarium. So this is a threaded bulkhead, and this piece here. Now, of course, I'm going to use a little bit, maybe a little bit of tape, and then maybe a little bit of sealant, a little bit of aquarium sealant, just to give me a real rock solid seal. And then this piece is then adapted or reduced or modified, depending how you want to call it, to go into this one-way valve. This is a one-way valve so that when the aquarium is, the pump is turned off, this little flap shuts down and prevents a back siphon from the aquarium, so you don't flood the sump. And it works okay. What's going to really stop it is because this output is going to be near the surface of the water and creating a lot of surface agitation. But it'll be probably just a little bit out of the surface of the water, creating a lot of surface movement. So when the pump stops, air will go into this, and that'll break the siphon. That's a more secure form of breaking the siphon than the flap. The flap is a double safeguard against flooding. And then what I have is 12 feet of what is called braided vinyl tubing. This is braided vinyl tubing, which is it's braided so that it's very hard to kink. The big complaint about using tubing in plumbing for sumps is kinking. And so this will, I've got 12 feet of this, and this is just a piece that I'll be taking back to Home Depot, just a small piece I was using. But you have this little adapter here, right? And that goes in there, and then you attach a clip, what they call a snap, right here. You'd put a snap there, and then this goes back down to the pump. And I'll be using two Shisei Syncra 5.0s, two pumps. So the sump is going to have two hearts. So in case one pump fails, I still have water movement, right? So the only thing I'm debating still, I've got to order the socks. I'm sorry, I've got to order the sponges, and I got to decide whether I'm going to put that 7-inch wide sock in there to help with the pre-filtering, which if I do use a sock, it'll be a 7-inch sock. But then otherwise, it's just going to be tall, thick, Porrid or Matin sponges from Swiss Tropicals, and then a mountain of Ciporex from Sarah, and then the two Shisei pumps, getting the water back up to the tank. Now, am I going to supplement that with a canister? I do have a Sunsun 704B I'm not using. I wouldn't mind another Fluval FX6 on there just for water movement and polishing. But that sump that I just described to you is probably enough. It's probably enough. I still have to work on the positioning of the sump. I think under the cabinet, the sump can be so that the pumps are right near the middle of the cabinet, so that the hoses come down to the pumps equal length and as equal as they can be. But I have to make sure I position the sump so it's easy for me to work on. So that's the key on that. So I'm looking at mid-June for maybe end of June, have it filled. And I'm still debating on what substrate to use. And when I go over to the Cichlid Shack, I'll talk with James about what kind of fish I want to put in there. And it's going to be South Americans or Africans, or maybe I'll shock you and do something completely different. I think one of you recommended a guppy tank, so they'd all be stuck to the overflow, right? All right. What have you folks been talking about? Let's see what you folks have been up to here. By the way, I think I missed a super chat. Let me take a look here. If I missed a super chat, I'm sorry. I get on a roll, and let me see. We got Daniel Lopez, who came in before we started. We got Gia Aquatic and Pets. Thank you, Gia. Appreciate that. And let's see here. Okay, so I think I caught up on super chats. And do any of you know, or do any of you have any questions? Go ahead and ask them now. Yes, Brian, I am still up in the air. The truth is, I just want to get the aquarium functioning, right? Like moving water the way it's supposed to, and filled up, leveled. I still want to. There's some. It's a big project. I got the glass lids. The glass lids were brought over from Glass Cages by Jerry Martin, and so I got those. Hey, Robert. Robert received his stickers and Sarah Foods this morning. Here's some help on the 300-gallon. Thank you, Robert. I appreciate that, and very nice of you. And I'm glad you got all that. Twisted Bib, did you design and build your own sump? Yes, I have a 40-gallon breeder. I have a 60-gallon acrylic that was going to be the sump, but I decided I want to use that 60-gallon acrylic probably for something else, and I couldn't get it under the aquarium. It was too big. So I had to cut a hole in the side of the stand. I didn't want to cut a hole in the side. So I decided to go with a 40-gallon breeder. Some people are telling me that's not big enough. But at the same time, I've got a 29-gallon as the sump on the 210. And it worked great. And when I turn off the pumps, I have about 3 or 4 inches from the top of extra room, so there's never a flood. So I think 40-gallon breeder will be okay. I think it'll be okay. Plus, this 300-gallon has what is called a waterline stripe at the top. That's about this thick. So I don't have to run the water right to the very top of the aquarium. I can actually run it halfway down the weir, halfway down the intake of the overflow, so that the amount of water that will drain back when I turn off the pumps from the overflow is a very small amount, So, and it'll still look good because the water line is hidden by the black stripe at the top of the aquarium. Now, if you notice here in the 90 behind me, who can spot fish that were not in this tank before? Let's see who's been paying attention. I'll go ahead and tell you. The two chocolate cichlids, were moved from the tank behind me and put into the 90-gallon. So it's, and they're doing great. No one's bugging them. You know, I kept an eye on the tank. You know, whenever you do a change, whenever you add fish or do anything really, good idea to keep an eye on the tank and for a little while. And I thought maybe the Salvini or maybe the Nicaragua would harass them, and they're pretty much just leaving the chocolates alone. And see if you can see there, Nicaragua. Gorgeous coloration on that fish. That's the female, and this is a female Jack Dempsey. Look at the size of this vieja. This vieja has just turned into a giant. So maybe I can bring back the Zonatus, the blue Zonatus, because the Zonatus is smaller, noticeably smaller than this vieja now. So maybe he'll calm down. Here's one of the chocolates back here. So that's a recent change. Take a look at the tank. I think what it did is it's creating a calmer situation in this tank. The chocolates, of course, are very, they're big and boisterous and kind of pushing fish around. So I think the electric blue Ocharas and to some degree the red spotted Severums were a bit intimidated by the chocolates, which is why I moved them out. The funny thing is that those dwarf rainbows, maybe they're just dither fish, but everybody leaves them alone, and they just run around all day long. Really cute fish. I still have Skittles in quarantine, and you can see him there. And then the Zonatus is on the other side, but he's usually hiding in a little cave that he built. And then here's the 220, if you can see it. You can see the fish there are doing pretty good. Interestingly enough, the living stone eye was starting to harass the Autopharynx tetrastigma, and the Autopharynx tetrastigma ended up holding his ground. And he's sort of like the tank boss in some ways. But you see the living stone eye there? See the way he's sort of solid blue when he's fired up? There on the right side. When he's solid blue, it means he's fired up and he's like looking for trouble. I went after him with a net. I was going to take him out because he was picking on the Autopharynx tetrastigma too much. And so I was going to go pull him out with a net, and he immediately lost all the blue, and he went into a blotched pattern and then he stopped chasing the autopharynx. So maybe I, put some fear into him. Gia Aquatic and Pets, thank you so much. Another super chat. I appreciate that. All right, let's come on back. All right. We have a few minutes left here. Any other questions I can answer for you? I'd be happy to answer them now. And you can kind of get a glimpse of the planted tank down here. We have Gary the snail right in the middle there. We'll love to take a walk. He'll go out the top, push through the plastic top of the tank, and fall on the floor. He's done it a couple times. Big mystery snail. And then back there we've got we got Mr. Mustard. Not sure you can see him, but he seems to be doing okay. So in the middle of working on the 300, of course, I have to maintain these tanks, make sure those things are working right. And I think I'll probably, hey, KG Cichlids in the house. Good to see you, Kevin. I think I'm going to end up moving Mr. Mustard upstairs and put him right next to my bed. And he would fit perfectly on the table that's next to my bed. And I think it'd be kind of cool. Kind of cool to wake up and have Mr. Mustard staring at me. So, all right. Any questions? I'm looking at the chat. If you have a question, now's the time to ask it. Carrie Pitt, what new filter looks like? Ben, that new filter looks like it would be perfect for my tanks. I'll be buying one when I get one in Canada. Yeah, it's still not. I don't think it's in worldwide distribution yet. But it is showing up with content creators. I know Jay Wilson is sending them out to content creators to make like unbox videos, that kind of stuff, which is what you'll see tomorrow. I'll go ahead and tomorrow I'll go ahead and talk about that. But Jay has been a real friend of my channel. He provided the Shisei pump, the 9.0 2,700 gallon per hour C-shape pump that is on the 210 gallon. And he sent me 2 Syncra 5.0s and a stream pump for the 300. I paid money for a portion of that, but he did. And then he sent me the Shisei Shark to do an unbox video. So he's been a real friend of the channel, as has Aquarium Co-op, Expertmatic, JC&P, Unique Underwater Galleries. The channel has a lot of great friends, and of course the Cichlid Shack, which has been a sponsor of the channel. And don't forget, I will be at the shack on the 2nd, and doing the live stream from there. For those of you who arrive late, I will be doing the live stream from the shack, and I think it'll be 11 o'clock Pacific when I start it, and then afterwards I will be available, and maybe I can help you pick out some fish. If you come by the shack, I will be there. Don't forget to use that discount code. All right. I brought the chat up. Let's see here. Miguel Cintrón, this channel has been awesome for such a long time. You should be around 10 times that many subs. You rock. Thank you, my friend. I appreciate that. Let's see. Twisted Bib. I have several drawings of the sump design, and they're up in the bedroom, and including one yesterday where I had to design a bird's eye view looking down so I could determine how long the pipes would need to be to fit over the end of the sump, right? Because I have to cut those pipes, and one has to be longer than the other. And so I've got lots of different diagrams and designs, and I'm constantly like tweaking it. But anyway, so yeah, there are lots of designs. Not one that I have here that I can show you though. Doug Wolf Drums. Let me see. You had a question about canister filters. I don't see it. Let me see here. By the way, if you have received Sarah food, please let me know how your fish are taking to it. Just send me an email, and then what I do is I forward the email to Sarah Foods. They love hearing the reports. John Wallace, she say is the real deal. 5-year warranty, right, on their products, and they're built really, really well. EF asking a question about spray bars. I like surface agitation any way you can get it. If you have a spray bar as your way of doing it, I usually have outputs, filter outputs, or wave makers, things like that, pointed towards the surface so that I'm breaking up the surface and creating lots of oxygen. In some cases, I have bubblers. Like in the planted tank, there's a sponge. There's a bubbler here in the 90 that's on a battery backup in case there's a power outage. So I like to get as much surface tension breakup as I can. And I can't find that question, Doug Wolf. Just go ahead and ask me again. Doug Wolf Drums, if you had a question, just go ahead and ask it again, unless somebody already answered it. Yeah, CC Custom Leatherworks. I was not aware that snails would do that, and my snail, I mean, he has to push the plastic condensation lid. He has to push it aside, get under it, and then because the way the tank is on sort of a pedestal, and then he just does a nosedive, and lands on the hard concrete floor of the garage, and he's survived it twice. So I don't know where he's off to, but he certainly wants to get there. Let's see here. Yeah, you really don't want them leaving the tank. I mean, but one thing, keep in mind, if they do leave the tank and you find them on the floor and they have a dried up shell that has formed, it means that they're probably still alive. They seal up and they trap moisture inside their shell. And mine had been laying out there probably for a day. And I put them, I was about to toss them. I said, oh boy, Gary, you committed suicide. I was about to toss them, and I said, you know what? I'm just going to put them in a glass of tank water and just see what happens. And the next morning, he was out. His feelers were out, and he was a little worse for wear. He had a crack in his shell, but he was, it shocked me. It just shocked me. I think I did a video on it, like Gary the Miracle Snail or something like that. Oh. Brian Park, can I have too much air? I don't know. I guess if it's I guess if it's disturbing the fish, or in the event of like if you look at my 29 gallon, and to some degree the 55 gallons, you can get a lot of micro bubbles, which are not necessarily that attractive. It almost looks like there's particles in the water when there isn't. It's just micro bubbles. So I guess from an aesthetic viewpoint, but I mean, fish live. They live near places where there's, rapids or there's a waterfall, and they live around there, and I don't think you can. I don't think it would harm them. I don't think it would harm them. Chris G comes through with a super chat. Thank you, Chris. Yes, the large piece of driftwood is about 15 feet from me, and I'm going to give it one more power wash probably, and I'm debating whether I'm going to soak it in hydrogen peroxide, but I am going to still be using it. I'm going to be using it. I do want to use it in some capacity, either entirely or cut up. Doug Wolf, do canister filters provide sufficient oxygen to the beneficial bacteria within them? Well, yeah, because keep in mind the oxygen that they're providing is the oxygen that's available in your aquarium. They're just moving aquarium water through the canister. So whatever the oxygen situation is in your tank, that's what's going on in your canister. So if your tank has sufficient surface tension breakup, that's the water being circulated. And so yes, your beneficial bacteria is getting a lot of oxygen. Now, in a sump where you have water cascading down and a lot of, water being moved and stirred and stuff, there's a tremendous amount of oxygenation that occurs with sumps. And of course, with one of the things I love about hang-on back filters is that the way they cascade water back into the tank, they break up the surface. So they're all very good sources of oxygen. So yeah, you're going to get as much oxygen as you have in the tank going through your canister. So don't worry about that. Now, I've seen canisters where there's been a power outage of like 8 hours. I had a power outage in California one time, it was 8 hours. And I was thinking, well, gee, is my beneficial bacteria in my canister going to die out? And power came back on, canister started functioning, and it was business as usual. It seemed to be fine. So I think, going back to those tips I talked about earlier in today's live stream, we worry a lot about things like beneficial bacteria dying off and things like that, when in fact, it's actually a bit more, that's my beagle. Hey, Jack, what? All right, well, just tell him I'm tied up. You don't need an alarm system when you have a beagle, by the way. Anyone who dares come to the front door. Anyway, you folks know Jack. He's the beagle that appears at the end of my videos. And he's got quite a set of lungs on him. So let's see here. Can you speak slowly so that I can under Santiago Achivero? ¿Quiere que te hable en español? Te puedo hablar en español si quieres y así me puedes entender. ¿Hablo español? Algún día voy a hacer un live stream solamente en español para mis amigos en los países latinos. All right. So, I'll tell you what. I think with all that being said, I think we're going to go ahead and end off. Hey, Elizabeth Wagner, good to see you. And I want to thank all of you for sitting in today. And catch tomorrow's video, the product review of the Shisei, the new Shisei Shark Pro 500. And I think we'll just go ahead and end off on that note. Thank you, everybody, for coming in. Thank you for the super chats, folks. They really help. Thank you to my Patreon members and my wonderful moderators. And you folks rock spending some of your Saturday with me. I really appreciate it. And thank you for the support, my friends. And I hope to see you again soon. Bye-bye.